Good evening. I'm Adam, and with me tonight is Shawn. Hey, Shawn.
Everybody.
And thanks for coming out for Cocktails and Vinyl. We're going to hang out, talk about some records, and have some beverages. And Shawn's the guest tonight. So, Shawn, what pleasures do we have tonight?
I figured since the year's coming to a close, thank God 2020 is coming to a close. Here's hoping 2021 is better. 2020 has been rough for everybody, and yeah. But to add one silver lining to 2020, there was some great music that came out, and it's cool. I was going to go ahead and go over and just show some of my personal favorite releases of the year, because I know usually a lot of the stuff I show is older, but believe it or not, I do actually listen to new stuff too. It's just one of those things. But yeah, so some of my favorite releases of the year. I'll start with a band that has, now you'll notice in the pop and rock and metal type stuff, a lot of them are established artists. Most of my new artists that I buy stuff from, a lot of that is punk and jazz. But in the rock realm, a band that's been doing thrash as well as anyone for 40 years, the New Testament album is outstanding. There is absolutely nothing here that is groundbreaking, that's going to make you say, whoa. But if you just want some good, solid new thrash from a band that's been doing it that long and does it as well as anybody, they got you covered right here.
There you go. Yeah.
Great album. Great album.
Very cool.
After that, so this is a fairly recent artist, and this is sort of a post-punky type thing. Dark Thoughts, Must Be Nice. This came out this year. I have spun this a lot. I've really been enjoying this, a little bit of synthesizer type stuff, and very, very post-punky type. Let's see. Another rock and metal legend that put out a great album in 2020, new Marilyn Manson album, We Are Chaos. He really brought his A game with this. This record surprised me at how good it was, because his last couple of records didn't really do a lot for me, so I didn't really have very high hopes for this. But and originally I didn't buy it until I saw people online going, "Wow, I'm shocked at how good this is." So I went ahead and I took a chance on it, and yeah, it paid. This is really good.
Hey, good evening, Kurt. Maybe you should call it the latest Testament rather than the New Testament.
Fair enough, Kurt. Fair enough. Okay. So another established artist that put out an absolutely fantastic album in 2020, the Pet Shop Boys, believe it or not. Hotspot. This is another one that totally surprised me. It sees them sort of going into more modern pop type sounds and a pop landscape that, frankly, that they helped to create, right? The Pet Shop Boys, their influence in pop for the last, 20, 30 years it's undeniable. And it's really great to see these guys still collaborating and still doing great material. So if you like any era of the Pet Shop Boys, you'll probably like this. So very good.
There's a special place in my heart for when Dusty Springfield did some things with Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, I must have missed that. That's an interesting pairing.
They reached out to her. She was a senior. They reached out to her, and they made a wonderful record with Dusty.
No kidding. Yeah. I'm going to have to find that. Thanks for letting me know. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely something I got to check out. So another legacy established band that put out an album in 2020 that was way better than it had any right to be, Deep Purple. This new album.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This thing is at just a solid rocker start to finish. And Ian Gillan, for a long time, I've always been of the opinion that his voice was shot. I don't know what he did, but, man, his voice sounds pretty good on this. So I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed this.
Absolutely.
Another band that's been around for a while, but continues to push the boundaries and continues to just astound with every album. These guys have never put out the same album twice. The Flaming Lips, their new album, American Head. This is kind of, low key, down tempo, very atmospheric. They've gotten into that space in the last couple of albums, and it's been a wild ride. This album is fantastic. This is a great one when you just want to sit down and zone out and just forget about the world for a while. This was a good soundtrack for doing that.
Very cool.
Now, for a band that has put out the exact same record for a little over 40 years, and for some reason it just never gets old, new AC/DC album, man, Power Up. Oh, I mean, at this point, AC/DC is a brand. I mean, when you buy a new AC/DC record, it's like buying your favorite brand of cookies, right? You open them up and you know what you're going to get when you buy an AC/DC record. And this one doesn't disappoint, man. AC/DC understand, give the people what they want. They gave the people what they wanted.
Well, there you go. Hello, Brooke. Thanks for joining us tonight. She needs that one. She needs that Flaming Lips.
Flaming Lips, good one.
Lips never fail to entertain.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I mean, especially live. If you've never seen the Flaming Lips live, their live show is something to behold.
I have, yeah.
So the last couple that I have here are actually jazz. I know a lot of the jazz that I listen to is, at this point, 50, 55, 60, even older, right? But there has been some very good new jazz that has come out. A lot of Blue Note, and also Impulse, believe it or not, has really had a resurgence the last couple of years. But for Blue Note, this one is probably the most spun one I've had so far in 2020. Ron Miles, Rainbow Sign. This is just phenomenal. The band here are people that I'm not incredibly familiar with, except Bill Frisell. I love Bill Frisell, but the rest of them I'm not terribly familiar with. But this album it just blew me away. So,
very cool.
And then this might be the first Blue Note album that ever had a parental advisory on it, because one of the songs does have a little rap to it. But this Tom Misch and Yusef Day's record is amazing. I would venture to say that this is a little less. Yeah, Frank knows.
Yeah.
Frank, he knows. So, but this one, there are jazz elements to it, but it's more of a down-tempo record, I feel. And, this is another one that's good when you've just had a bad day and you just want to zone out and just blah. It's good.
There you go. Francis, thanks for joining us tonight.
Joel Ross, who are you? This one actually just came out, I want to say probably the last month and a half. This one I've been spinning a lot too. Phenomenal. And then last one from the new stack for 2020, favorite releases of the year. This one's Impulse, Shabaka and the Ancestors were sent here by history. So, Impulse's resurgence as of late has been mainly led by Shabaka Hutchings and some of his projects, whether it's stuff in his own name or Shabaka and the Ancestors or The Comet is Coming or The Sons of Kemet. Impulse has put out a lot of his stuff, and everything has been outstanding. There are other artists that are currently on Impulse and doing things as well, but their resurgence has really been led by him. And so
let's say hello to Vintage and Vinyl. Hey, Katie, how are you tonight?
Hey, Katie.
Thanks for joining. I'm sure, Shawn, there's some people that are asking, why is this happening on a Wednesday night? Cocktails and Vinyl isn't a weekly event, but when it happens, it's usually on Tuesday. And
I'll let you speak to that.
Let me speak. Yeah, you got. And so beginning the first of the year, I'm going to change my hours a little bit in Wake Forest. So Wake Forest was typically open on Mondays and closed on Tuesdays, and Tuesdays was the day I went to Selma. So we're just switching that around. So Wake Forest is going to be open on Tuesdays, and then I'll be in Selma on Monday. And sometimes it's hard to get from Wake Forest back to the Raleigh location, for a live stream. And so there
Yeah.
we go. Coffee, cocktails and vinyl is gonna move over to Wednesday nights now. So
Okay.
there we go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So next I'll just do some new arrivals. Just some things that I've come into recently that I've been digging on. I won't spend any time really going into. Oh, I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, hold on. 2 additional releases. How could I forget these?
Okay.
2 7-inch EPs that came out this year that totally blew my mind, including my single favorite release of 2020, believe it or not. So the first one, this nutrition, this is the No EP.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, if there was such a thing as dancey hardcore, that you like rump shaking hardcore, this is it. This is like nothing I have ever heard before, and I am just enamored with it. So good. And then my single favorite release of the year, of course, I'm going to be the hipster that picks a 7-inch EP as his favorite release of the year. But if we're talking the amount of time that something is sent on my turntable, this one wins by a landslide. Hank Wood and the Hammerheads use me. This is sort of like bluesy punk. It's not hardcore. It's just bluesy punk with a loud, rowdy attitude. These guys are out of New York City. They've been around for, I want to say, about 20 years. So, I mean, they're no spring chicken. But this record blew me away, and I have spun this so much in 2020. So, yeah, this is my pick for best release of the year as far as stuff I've bought. So, all right. Now, on to some new arrivals. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but when it comes to hardcore, one of my favorite genres of that is Italian hardcore. These Italian bands, from the 80s all the way up to today, they just have a sound all their own. And I came into some really nice originals of 2 Italian hardcore discs from the 80s, Negazione, and this one, Wretched. The name of this EP is In nome del loro potere tutto è stato fatto, which basically means in the name of their power, it's all been done. So, yeah. And then this was a 2020 release, Italian hardcore, by a band called Cobra. It's called Confusione, which means confusion. And this one I've been playing a lot too. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on that, because I don't think hardcore is of too much interest to those watching, but that's okay.
Well, I think it is, yeah.
Well, for Kurt, it certainly is.
Well, I don't like hardcore.
Huh?
Right, everybody?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So here was a killer one. This is a great piece of Minneapolis history. The Replacements Stink.
Oh, yeah.
So their EP. This is the first pressing with the hand stamped cover, no barcode on the back. It boggles my mind to think that Paul Westerberg himself may have, held this and actually been the one that stamped this cover. So this was a hell of a cool find. And I don't know. I love the Replacements. They're not. I don't know what the nope was for.
We all love hardcore.
Nope. Oh yeah, no. I know. Hardcore's not everyone.
Oh.
So something else that I don't find a lot of on vinyl that I was able to come into recently were 3 Queensryche records. So the first one, Warning. This record. Not my favorite Queensryche album, but every time I put it on, I'm like, damn, why don't I play this more? Like, it's good, but the problem is it's not as good as the stuff that came after it, right? But this one, it's a nice copy, plays pretty well. this is where Queensryche started getting awesome. So this is an original pressing of, yeah. So I love this. I never find these originals on vinyl, but yeah, Rage for Order is, I mean, some people I think would probably say this is the best Queensryche album. Personally, I think it's this one, Operation Mindcrime. These are hard to find just because, you know, it came out in '88. Nobody was buying vinyl in '88. Everybody was buying cassettes and CDs. So, you know, it was there, but nobody bought it. So, yeah, this was a nice find.
That was my introduction to Queensryche, Operation 9.
I think that was probably a lot of people's introduction to Queensryche. I mean, that was absolutely their most popular album up to that point. And rightfully so. I mean, it's a killer album start to finish.
And, you know, it was really neat because it was very melodic metal, but they threw some prog in there, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, oh, my God, why is his name escaping me?
Jeff Tate?
Thank you. His voice. I mean, that guy give Bruce Dickinson a run for his money.
I know. He has quite the voice.
Yeah, he does. I was quite enamored with this when I found it. A Stone Cold original pressing of Nevermind the Bollocks. These aren't as hard to find as you would think they are, but they're really hard to find it clean.
Well, that one has...
This one has the sticker for the missing track right there.
May I see the front again?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Those have been counterfeited like crazy too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What?
Here's another one. The very first album from the Plasmatics. You never find these clean either.
Find that.
Yeah. And I mean, I love the Plasmatics. I mean, Wendy O. Williams was she was a once in a generation talent. You know, it's a shame that she had so many demons, but man, these Plasmatic records are so awesome. And this one actually has all the goodies with it in addition to the vinyl. So it's got this gigantic poster. I probably won't pull that out and show it, but yeah, and it's got some flyer inserts and stuff. So yeah, I was pretty stoked to find that because yeah, you never find these clean. So this'll be of some interest. Yeah, Kurt, they're out there. You know, with all the inserts, probably a little bit harder, but they're out there. So going back to like, you know, age 11, 12, you know, I thought I was Mr. Mac Daddy. Came into a copy of Belle Biv DeVoe's Poison. Sorry, your boy grew up in that time. I love it. I will never stop loving this album. And honestly, it's aged very, very well. It's still really listenable today.
That's 1990, isn't it?
What's that?
Is that 1990?
1990, yep.
Yeah.
Sure is, yeah. And then along that same vein, from 91, copy of Jodeci's Forever My Lady. I played the crap out of this cassette when I was a kid. And so, yeah, I came across a nice vinyl copy, an original, so had to grab that. I was jumping up and down for joy when I found this as well. This is 90 pressing of Jane's Addiction's Ritual de lo Habitual. These are not easy to find, especially clean. So happy to have that. You know, that album had, I think that was Jane's Addiction's biggest selling album. I think that one sold more than Nothing Shocking. No, I don't think I did, Kurt. I'll have to find that, see if that's on YouTube. I'd like to see that.
Was that the time she took out the chainsaw and started sawing something, Kurt?
I think she did that at just about every show.
Oh, I had that on tape. I'm thinking she's Brooks talking about the Jane's Addiction.
Actually, I think she's talking about Belle Biv DeVoe.
Oh.
And I had that on cassette when I was a kid too. I mean, yeah. So here's another 80s album that you don't find terribly often, and I think a lot of it is just from the year it came out, right? 1987. The Self-Titled Echo and the Bunnymen. This album this album is timeless. So good.
Yeah, so good.
And I mean,
BBD.
Yeah. So I'll be the first to say that the first time I ever heard Sugar Kisses was Seal's cover of that. And and then I got introduced to Echo and the Bunnymen after that, and I was like, wow, their version's so much better.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, Carolina lady, thanks for joining us tonight. So I remember, what was the second Echo record released? I remember buying that one new.
I don't remember the name of it.
And then I went back and but it was so neat to learn that then.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you know what was interesting? In hindsight, right? I think so. Echo and the Bunnymen have always been a popular group with the fan bases of other bands like REM and Joy Division, and so like they all kind of fit in that circle. But Echo and the Bunnymen don't really sound anything like those other bands. But I don't know. They just had a sound all their own.
Did you ever see the movie The Lost Boys?
No, I don't believe I ever did. No.
The soundtrack had Echo and the Bunnymen doing a song, and I think they got a little popular then because of that.
Okay.
Crocodiles was the first, and it is the bomb.
Nice.
Yeah.
So some other late. I'm sorry. Go on, Adam. I didn't realize you were talking. Sorry.
Is Crocodiles the one with the blue cover, where they're looks like they're in the cave?
Yes, I believe so.
So good.
You know, I haven't heard that album in years. I mean, I've got the cover in my head, but I don't remember a lot about that album. I know I've listened to it, but I need to go back and get wise on that one.
Okay.
So what?
It's a 10.
Is it?
It's a 10. It's a good record. Yeah.
All right. Well, then, I mean, if you tell me it's a 10, I'm gonna definitely go and get wise. So, Aerosmith's biggest comeback albums, right? These are both original pressings from the late 80s, 87, 89. Again, tough to find on vinyl just because of the time period that they came out. But these are both clean and sound great. And my God, what great records these are. Especially Pump. I think Pump is my favorite Aerosmith album of all time. I mean, there is seriously not a bad moment on this.
That was when they kind of got MTV popular, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, they quit drinking and drugs and got focused and got on MTV. And yeah, I mean, Aerosmith had a huge commercial rebirth from like 87 at Permanent Vacation, because that had like Ragdoll and God, what was the other big hit on there? Ragdoll and Dude Looks Like a Lady was on Permanent Vacation. And then you had Pump that had Love in an Elevator and Jamie's Got a Gun. And then, in 93, they put out Get a Grip that had Living on the Edge on it. And then they had that Diane Warren song, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, that they had a big hit with in the mid-90s. So, like, Aerosmith had, like, almost a 10-year commercial rebirth, man, where they were back in the charts. So,
have you heard Done with Mirrors?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got a copy of Done with Mirrors. That I think that was the first one that they did for Geffen. Toys in the Attic is a classic. I mean, I couldn't possibly say anything about that album that hasn't been said 85 times.
Now, when did Run DMC do the song where Aerosmith joined them? Walk This Way.
That was in the early 90s. That would have been a little bit. So I think that was somewhere around like 91, 92, because there was a few of those like rap rock collaborations going on, right? You had Aerosmith and Run DMC doing Walk This Way. You had Onyx and Biohazard doing one, and there were a couple of others of those as well. So so yeah, I think that was all around the same time. So I'm thinking like early 90s, 91, 92, somewhere in there.
Very cool.
And then just a couple of, a few jazz new arrivals. Adam, I don't know if you remember, but at one point you had asked me if I had a copy of Lee Morgan Candy, and I said if I ever found an OG of that, I'd probably die. Well, I'm still alive.
You're still alive. There you go. That's what I was thinking. Hold on a second, Shawn. Sorry, interrupt you.
Was it 86?
I was thinking that was kind of like the step.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I'll defer to you guys on that. I know it was Anthrax and Public Enemy that did one in like 88.
Yeah. And so I remember when the Run DMC with Aerosmith, I was like, oh, they're alive. Yeah. They're alive. Right. Because I think there was a little bit of period between Done with Mirrors and the Run DMC thing.
Yeah, I think Done with Mirrors was 85. I think that was their debut for Geffen, as far as I remember.
Yeah. And that didn't get very much success at all.
Which is surprising because, honestly, that's a good album. I mean, it's not their best, but, I mean, it's certainly more listenable than some of the other things in their catalog. I don't mind Done with Mirrors at all. I mean, I don't like it as much as Permanent Vacation or Pump or Get a Grip, but
yeah. Very cool.
So another Blue Note that got in not too long ago that was very happy to finally have on vinyl, Hank Mobley's Soul Station. This is probably Hank Mobley's best recording for Blue Note, or one of them at least, very much on the short list. There's not a bad moment here. And I mean, with a band like Art Blakey, Wynton Kelly, and Paul Chambers, I mean, good Lord, you can't. All right, 91. See, I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to just give up on that. Clearly, I don't know my years at all. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for keeping me honest. This one.
Well, that was a cool find. I like Hank.
Oh yeah, this one. I think I saved from going to Japan, never to be seen again. Sonny Clark's Cool Struttin'. This, for Japanese jazz lovers, is what Kind of Blue is to the rest of us. Like, if you ask a Japanese jazz lover what album you have to start with, like what is the jazz album, the one that everybody should have, most of them will probably tell you Cool Struttin'. This album is so popular in Japan. Believe it or not, for Blue Note, this is ridiculous sales. This has sold almost 200,000 copies worldwide, and it's been estimated that anywhere from 70 to 80% of those copies were sold in Japan. Like, this is their jazz album. And unfortunately, if there is any Blue Note where original pressings, where every known one in the world is eventually going to end up in Japan, it's probably this one. So,
wow,
this is so freaking good. And I mean, the names on this that are playing, I mean, a rhythm section, with Paul Chambers and Philly Joe Jones, and So, and Sonny Clark, of course, on piano, and then you got Art Farmer on trumpet and Jackie McLean on alto. I mean, good Lord, that's a who's who of that time. So, yeah, this album is amazing.
I've heard Ken talk about how he remembers buyers from Japan would come over to New York City and just buy.
Oh, dude, they do that a bunch of places. There's a record shop in Tokyo, one of the biggest ones around, and they have, and they actually have buyers that like live here and buy for them. And I have some friends that work in record shops that get jazz all the time, specifically one in Detroit, and another friend down in Atlanta that used to work in record stores. It was like, yeah, these Disc Union buyers would come and they would just, and they would just come and be like, yeah, I'm going to be here in 2 or 3 days, and, let me see what you got. And I mean, they would come with briefcases of cash. And, they take them to their warehouses and they'd say, okay, you've got all this jazz here in this room. I'll buy this entire room, and just give them a briefcase full of cash. I mean, it's insane.
Well, I never had that happen, but I've had the buyers come in, and one of them gave me a card, and it was a store in Japan that was 5 stories tall. And I just remember going on YouTube and just watching videos about people who walked in there and made all these videos and stuff. But they pick up stuff, and they pick up stuff. They can barely speak English, and they say, "Credit card?" And I say, "Yes, sir." And they
That's
say,
right. Yep.
absolutely. Wow, that is, yeah, absolutely. But we didn't have those buyers this year. We didn't have those.
Yeah.
Not only the Japanese buyer or Japan buyers, but we just didn't have people traveling like we did last year and the year before and the year before.
No, you don't. Yeah.
And there was always somebody that would come at least once a month and walk away with a crate full of records so they could take it back to their stores.
And my friend in Detroit that works for a record shop there, he said that the buyer that comes in to do his, to buy jazz from them, he literally lives in Chicago. And so, I mean, they put him up there, and he goes around, Chicago, Detroit, some of the other areas there in the Rust Belt, and finding what he can. So.
That's right. Absolutely. he's a major player with buying records for someone. Yeah.
Kurt?
Yeah.
All right.
He's one of those scouts.
And Kurt, you're right. That Sonny Clark is a serious treasure. No doubt. So I couldn't be more stoked to have that. And then Adam, as you of course know, I got a nice little stack of jazz from you. I don't know, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, and there was a lot of contemporary in there, which was a great West Coast label. Contemporary and Pacific Jazz were the gold standards for putting out recordings of West Coast jazz. Favorites from that stack, of course, the first two. Curtis Counts Group records. This one in particular, the cover art is hilarious, but is the music so good. So yeah, Curtis Counts was a fantastic bassist. I feel like he never really got the due that he really deserved, but these records are both just top shelf. Another one that I grabbed from you that totally blew my mind. Art Pepper Meets the Rhythm Section. Art Pepper, and this actually has New York guys. So the rhythm section here is an all-star New York rhythm section, even though Art Pepper was a West Coast guy. The New York rhythm section here is Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. So, this is kind of like a West Coast meets East Coast kind of thing, and it's killer.
Very cool.
And then last two in the new arrivals, these two also came from you. I needed more Dizzy Gillespie in my life, and you delivered. This is actually The Genius of Charlie Parker, Volume 4, but this is all Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. These recordings were all done, I believe, around 1948. And this has an amazing rhythm section on it. So, of course, you got Bird on alto and Dizzy on trumpet. And then you've got Thelonious Monk on piano and Curly Russell on bass and some bum named Buddy Rich on drums. So, yeah. You want to talk about a great rhythm section. And then I'll be the first to admit that I'm not big on big band recordings. If I'm going to listen to a big band, I would much rather listen to a big band live, because the punch and the power of a big band doesn't come through on recordings a lot of times. This, though, was incredible. Dizzy Gillespie Big Band. This was one of the ones that was in that jazz stack I got from you. And, oh, man. This was incredible. I put this on for the first time and I was just silent. Like I just listening to it the whole time. Unbelievable.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then I had some other stuff here. Lately I've been revisiting the 2000s from like 2000 to 2009. Yeah, you're telling me, Kurt. Yeah, I got pretty fortunate on some of that stuff, no doubt. And I went through a period, and you'll see this a little bit in the stuff that I pull out, but a lot of rock was kind of getting to me in the 2000s. Like I just didn't like where it was going. And I became really disillusioned with rock, and I really started to branch out into older stuff, newer stuff that didn't fall into rock. Like I was just trying to avoid rock that was on the radio, because God, it just became so homogenized and so bland to me. And I mean, I used to listen to rock radio all the time, especially in the early 2000s. And a lot of that stuff, I mean, those bands just, it was like Korn came along and all of a sudden everybody just wanted to sound like Korn. But that said, there were certainly some diamonds in the rough. And, I was buying vinyl in the 2000s before the vinyl resurgence started. Mainly I used to buy it at a chain store in New England. They were a pop culture store, and they had multiple shops around New England. And so I used to go there at least once a week, once every other week, and just check out the new vinyl and all that. And I ended up pulling out some real gems during that time. So, I've been revisiting some of this stuff. This is pop punk at its absolute finest, Ted Leo and the Pharmacists. Shake the Sheets is probably one of the best records. And, I mean, this thing is just groovy and fun and a little bit of attitude. Great stuff.
Very cool.
Here's a jazz album from 2004 on Blue Note, Medeski, Martin, and Wood's End of the World Party, Just in Case. This is like electronic type jazz, kind of dancey, kind of bouncy. But man, if you've never heard Medeski, Martin, and Wood, you guys need to check them out. They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
So one thing I appreciated about some bands in the 2000s was that there was a little bit of a trend going back to just sort of that basic sound of the 70s. And one of the bands that I really think nailed that, and I remember buying this right around the time it came out, Jet's album Get Born. This is just good, solid rock and roll, man. Nothing fancy, nothing hard, nothing loud, just perfect. Absolute perfection. These guys were from Australia. Nice.
There you go. Hello, Michael. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Michael.
Yeah. Awesome. Australia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shawn, you were talking about 90s rock, and I got to thinking about 90s rock. We started having more what I call hippie garage music.
Yeah.
And I'm just reflecting back on the early 2000s and trying to think about some of those. I mean, Rated R, Queens of the Stone Age, they come to mind fast.
I love Queens of the Stone Age.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was just thinking out loud.
Oh, no. That's cool. And as a matter of fact, hold on a second. Let's see. Where is it? PQ. Yeah, here we go. Here's actually my favorite Queens of the Stone Age album. Bought this brand new in 2005, Lullabies to Paralyze. Mm-hmm. There is not a bad song on this album.
It was Rated R that got me.
That's a great one. Another great band from that time, too, was System of a Down. They were another band that didn't sound like anybody else. I loved the kind of Middle Eastern influence that they put into metal, and their stuff was phenomenal. I loved it.
Where does the LAs fit? Where do the Laws fit? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know, Kurt. That's a good question.
It is. I don't really know.
If it's the same one I'm thinking about, they're not quite as heavy as Queens. Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Something else, and Kurt may know something about this too. There was a DC punk band called hardcore band named called Scream, and they were big. They were a band, or they were at their biggest probably in the late '80s. And Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age played in Scream, as did Dave Grohl for a little while before he joined Nirvana.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of people finding some of their material and paying a lot of money for it.
Yeah. So another Australian contemporary of Jet from around the same time that also did that same kind of just straight ahead, good for the soul rock and roll, The Darkness. They were amazing, and their album covers were fantastic too, like this one, One Way Ticket to Hell and Back. So yeah, this is killer. Yeah, the art is different on the LP, Michael. You're right. The art on the original LPs from 2005 were definitely different, and also the entire third side. That's a double LP, and on the entire third side was tracks that were not on the US CD. They were bonus tracks on the Japan CD, but they filled out the third side with those. So that means that the track running order is a little bit different on the LP if you just play it start to finish.
Hold that thought, Shawn. Hold that thought.
I'm holding it.
I had to go pick up something that I totally forgot I had until you mentioned this.
Do it. What you got?
We're going to get side by side. Love is only a feeling.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make myself super big. I'm sorry.
Do it.
Or I'll make you big. How about that? So we can play it and sing it.
That's the sheet music. Oh, that's so cool, dude.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Thank you.
Awesome,
so, I was thinking that maybe Kurt could sing and I could play the piano.
There you go. Man, I bet you Kurt could get his croon game on, man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So now for an American band that was sort of riding that whole classic rock is new again trend and did it better than just about anybody, these ladies right here, the Donnas.
Oh, I love the Donnas.
This is an original that I bought back in the day, Spend the Night. I mean, if you can listen to this and honestly tell me you don't like it, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's just so freaking good.
We have to remember that there's a lag, Shawn. We talk and then they key in.
Oh, of course, yeah. And what Michael was mentioning was what I was saying about the Queens of the Stone Age, Lullabies to Paralyze, the LP versus the CD.
What year was the Donnas?
That was 2002. That was actually their major label debut. That was their first album for Atlantic, and they had a big hit on the radio with "Take It Off." And "Take It Off" is probably I'd probably put it top 5 on that album, but definitely not in the best. I mean, I think, God, on this album,
was it released before it was released on Atlantic with the same cover?
No.
I was thinking I was gone from the radio station by 2002, but I remember when that CD came in, and nobody.
So it might have been. So "Take It Off" may have come out as a single in late 2001, maybe before the album came out. But no, this definitely didn't come out on an indie label. This was definitely Atlantic.
So it came into the station, and nobody grabbed it, and it ended up on a desk, and which soon would have end up in the free bins. And so I saw it, and I was like, I love the cover, so I played it, and I was like, and so I played it on the radio station. I enjoyed it. And they came to the brewery a few months later, and I went to see them, but I never talked to them. And and it was cool. It was cool, but I don't remember which song I played on the radio. I have the CD. I have to pull it out one day and listen to it and see which one I played. But hey, that's really cool that you have it on vinyl.
Yeah, I got this one and the one they did after that called Gold Medal. I've got both of those on vinyl that I bought back in the day. Okay, so people are gonna say whatever they're gonna say about this album. I will just say that I find this album incredibly captivating because it shows James Hetfield really sort of coming to terms with sobriety and things, and it caught the band in a very, very dark place, and it didn't sound like anything they had ever done before, and I personally love that. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. I love me some Saint Anger.
Oh, yes.
I love this album so much. You know, you can talk about the ping, ping, ping of Lars's drums and whatever else you want, and the minimalist, you know, production, and the fact that Kirk Hammett doesn't have a single solo on this. I don't care. I can listen to this start to finish and enjoy the hell out of it. I love this album so much.
This is from Krate. Either you Meow Without You. Any of you like Meow Without
Me Without You? Oh, Me Without You. I've never heard of it.
You. Me Without You. I've heard the name, Kurt. Me Without You. I'll check it out.
So from 2008, this is probably my favorite White Stripes record. It's an original Vicky Thump. I've always found the White Stripes to be, I guess, a little bit hit and miss. Like I like them, but I don't necessarily love them. And every one of their albums, except Vicky Thump, every one of their albums, like by the time it's over, I'm like, okay, I've got my fill. Like, I get it. Icky Thump is the one album that every time it's over, I'm like, damn, it's over already? Like, I need more, right? So, love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you ever see him live?
No, I never got the chance. I wish.
So I saw them and Queens of the Stone Age together that night.
I bet that was a great show, Adam.
It was fun, and hey, I like Queens of the Stone Age, but I kind of like White Stripes a little better, and I think it was probably a little loud, so I decided to go outside, and I walked around the back of the venue and was just hanging out. Jack White came out, and there was probably 20 of us standing around. We all just stood around for about an hour and talked, and super friendly guy.
Very cool. So here's one from a super group from the 2000s that I really enjoyed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Katie, you know what I'm talking about. You know, and I think that's the hallmark of a great album, right? A hallmark of a great album is that when it's over, you're like, oh, that's it. You know? So here's a super group consisting of Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots and Slash and Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses and Matt Sorum and Dave Kushner. Velvet Revolver, man. Yeah. This album, I mean, it's exactly what you would expect. All right, this is Slash's guitar work on here specifically. I mean, Slash will melt your face off on this record.
Well, what year was that?
2004. Yeah, 2004. And there were a couple of songs from this that were on the radio. That's how I knew about this. That's why I bought it.
I'm questioning my time at KNC now because Velvet Revolver was going to play the amphitheater, the big one. And we were doing this promotion and giving away tickets. And I think Scott wasn't able to play or something. I don't know.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite bands from the 90s was always Nine Inch Nails. I always liked Trent Reznor's approach to music, and I always liked the sound of it, that sort of hard-driving industrial sound. And their album from 1999, The Fragile, is probably my favorite one of their records. I think it's Trent Reznor's masterpiece. But there was a long gap in between albums after The Fragile. The next Nine Inch Nails album didn't come out until 2005. And I didn't have high expectations for it, but I'm glad I was wrong, because With Teeth is probably one of Nine Inch Nails' best albums. And I would definitely say it's top 3 or 4. Yeah, there's not a bad moment on this. And this is another one that I bought brand new back in 2005 when it came out. And yeah, I mean, this thing's been in regular rotation for 15 years now. And so if you like the Downward Spiral, if you like the Fragile, if you like that type of sound from Nine Inch Nails, you're going to like this if you've never heard it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So to soften things up a little bit, I have loved this album since the day it came out, and I will probably always love it. John Mayer's Battle Studies. This is one of my favorite records of his. I think Heartbreak Warfare is an absolute triumph of songwriting. I mean, there are great pieces of songwriting, and then there's Heartbreak Warfare. That is one of the single greatest songs to ever come from his pen. And believe me, his pen has produced many, many great songs over the years, but none perhaps as good as Heartbreak Warfare. And there are so many other fantastic songs here. I mean, All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye, Perfectly Lonely, Assassin, Edge of Desire. I mean, there's just so many great songs on this album. This is definitely one of John Mayer's best.
Very cool. Is it better than I Want to Run Through the Streets of My High School?
So that album, I have an original copy of that on vinyl as well. And that's Room for Squares. And I actually do love that album. But yeah, Battle Studies, I think, is a lot more mature than that. Battle Studies sort of saw him starting to grow up and to really sort of focus on deeper topics, and it really works.
Very cool. Kurt saw Velvet Revolver at the Virgin Festival.
How were they? I'm sure that depends on Scott Weiland's state at that time. All right. So speaking of homogenized rock in the 2000s, doesn't matter. This album was phenomenal. This is an original pressing from 2003, Linkin Park's Meteora. I love this album. Linkin Park was so overplayed on the radio and stuff. If you were a radio listener, I mean, you could not escape Linkin Park. But it doesn't matter in this case because there's so many great songs on here. Somewhere I Belong, Lying From You, Easier to Run, Breaking the Habit, Nobody's Listening, Numb. I mean, I think this entire album was probably released as a single at some point.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What year did you come to North Carolina, Shawn?
I came to North Carolina in 2011.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah. So all of these I bought, like I said, at a big chain store in New England. So here's an original pressing on blue vinyl of The Killer's Hot Fuss. If I was going to rank albums of the 2000s, like best albums of that entire decade, this one's on the short list. There's not a bad moment on this record, and this is just, again, great songwriting. Tight band, unbelievable musicianship. And the keyboard-driven sound is just great. And, yeah, I love that nice shade of blue.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's another one that's been in regular rotation ever since I've owned it.
Did you shop Newberry?
Newberry Comics is what I was talking about, yeah.
That looks like Newberry Blue.
Nope. This back in 2004, they weren't doing the whole, retailer-specific color stuff because nobody was buying vinyl yet. Vinyl, that was still vinyl's dark age. So they did one pressing of this back in 2004, and it was on blue vinyl. So all the shops got it. But yeah, Newberry Comics was. I had 2 Newberry Comics within about 15 minutes of where I lived. I had one at the Providence Place Mall in downtown Providence, and then I had another one in one of the suburbs of Providence called Warwick. And there was also North Attleboro as well. North Attleboro, Mass, just over the border. And that one, when I was buying that stuff, that would have been about a 20-minute drive for me. So I had plenty of options in terms of Newberry Comics. Oh yeah, the Killers are great. Although, Katie, I think my favorite Killers album is probably Battleborn. That one is like the greatest album from 1984 that didn't come out in 1984. If you put that album on, it is just a complete 80s vibe, start to finish. And it's very sentimental and very, I won't even say melancholy, but it's just very sentimental and very, past heavy, kind of looking back on your life kind of thing. And just the 80s vibe of it is amazing. If you've never heard Battleborn, that is an essential Killers album.
So TC, who likes to hang out on Coffee and Vinyl, he's up in the Boylston area, and he says that Newberry's today is just full of a lot of pop culture stuff, and in the records is not much of a focus anymore. Hey, good evening, Charlie Grace. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope things are going well.
One of my best friends. Sorry, Adam. There's a bit of a delay, so sometimes I think you're done talking and you're actually not. So sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, man.
I know that. Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, but yeah, one of my friends tells me may have back in the day, but not when I lived there. The pickings were pretty slim, man. I'll be honest. In Providence, I mean, you had Newberry Comics if you wanted new stuff, but if you wanted used stuff, you had to go to Boston. You really did. The only used record shop around was Luke's Record Exchange, which is long closed. That was in Pawtucket, which is the next town up from Providence. And Luke's is where I think I sold those Michael Jackson 12-inch singles that I ended up back in my possession because of you, Adam. I think I sold those to Luke. But usually for used vinyl, where I would usually find that would be in Boston and Cambridge at Mystery Train. And Mystery Train is long closed now. There's one left up on the North Shore, I think, somewhere. But they used to have a place on Newberry Street right in downtown Boston. They used to have a place in Harvard Square in Cambridge, and I pulled a lot of great stuff out of there. Problem with Mystery Train was that they would literally buy anything. Like they would pay you 25 cents for a record that wasn't playable. So you had to be real careful when you went digging there because you might come home with some crap you couldn't play. So you had to have a really scrutinous eye when you were buying from there.
Right. And a lot of people, that comes with maturity, and a lot of people haven't discovered that yet.
Yeah, right.
Which is sad.
It is. But, I mean, live and learn, right? I mean, we all have done that. I mean, I can't tell you. It's not like it happens a ton, but it's happened more than it should, where, I'm looking at something and I pick something up in the bin and I'm like, ooh, this is cool. And I'll take the vinyl out and I'll look at it and be like, yeah, the vinyl looks all right. Okay, I'm going to buy this. And then I come home and I realize, oh, it's the wrong record.
Oh yeah, or it's like there's a little bitty thing you just can't see, but it doesn't play properly.
Right, and
I've had that happen with me. I've almost cried before.
Now, see, that's one thing that I've learned over the years is that locked grooves and skips, those don't faze me anymore because 99.9% of the time I can get them out. Toothpicks work amazing for that. You use a toothpick and you use the flashlight on your phone to get a real bright light right down on the record. You can, you basically let it play right up to the point where it's going to skip or lock, stop your turntable, and then just move the platter forward by hand until you see the needle skip, and then use the flashlight on your phone and just see whatever it is that's making the needle skip. And you can, most of the time, just with a little bit of pressure, just get it out with a toothpick. So.
That's true. Some people would do the forward-backward thing. You've ever heard that?
Oh, story? No. Oh, my God, no. That gives me...
The record's great. I broke my stylus.
Yeah, I bet you did break your stylus. No.
Krate said there was a couple shops on Broadway in Providence that my buddy and I scored some serious nice used records. Awesome.
Huh. Yeah, that must have been before my time. I mean, I didn't live in Providence until 2001. So I'm guessing a lot of those places closed at that point, Kurt, because, yeah, in Providence, the pickings were slim, let me tell you, especially if you wanted used stuff.
Katie got the wrong record she purchased online. She got the right jacket, but the wrong vinyl. The guy was nice enough to send me the right one.
Yeah, I remember. I remember her mentioning that on the last live stream I did. Yeah, I think she said it was a Flamingos record that happened. That sucks.
It's
But
easy to do. It's so easy to do. It really is.
It is.
And I made a mistake the other day with a Journey record, and I had the wrong record, and somebody bought it, and they said, "Hey, this isn't right." And so I said, "No problem."
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, that actually happened to me with a Blue Note that I bought in Raleigh. It was a Blue Note record that was in a Blue Note sleeve, but it was the wrong record for the sleeve. But with something that rare, and not only that, but it was the same artist. It was Dexter Gordon. I bought a copy of Our Man in Paris, and the sleeve was Our Man in Paris, but I pulled it out, and the record was one flight up. And so that got a little bit interesting, but I got that all sorted out. That's another story for another time, though. So some other 2000s rock that I did really enjoy, and a band that I think was outstanding in their day, Incubus. Morning View is just incredible. This album is another one that's just top quality start to finish. If you like just, and the rock's a little loud, it's a little hard, but it's good. Very good. And the guy's got a great voice. He can totally sing. So good stuff.
Very cool.
So this is getting out of the rock realm a little bit. This was from when I started getting really disillusioned with rock. But this, I still play this regularly, and the atmosphere and just the way it makes me feel is amazing. But this Fleet Foxes self-titled, I can't say enough good things about this record. Just that kind of echo chamber that they put over the entire thing, but the folky kind of vibe to it is just amazing.
Yes, it is. That is a really good record. That's for sure.
It totally is.
When did you get into them? When did you discover Fleet Foxes?
It was because of that record, actually. That was one that I had never heard any of their stuff, and it was 2008, so that was before, Spotify and streaming services and stuff. And I just happened to be at Newberry Comics one day, and I saw that on vinyl, and I really, really, really loved that cover art. And so this is one of those that I just bought because of the cover. And I said, I'm going to take a chance on it. And that gamble paid off big time.
Was that a Sub Pop record?
It is. Yep. And this particular one was interesting as well because it's got the main Fleet Foxes album, but it's also got a second disc, which is called Sun Giant. And that's an EP that came out before this album did. So basically, if you bought it on vinyl, you got the album and you got the EP that came out previously. So this is a 2 LP set.
Mm-hmm. Wow, very cool. Yeah. I haven't placed an order with Sub Pop during the pandemic yet, and I miss it. I miss restocking and cool stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they've got so much good stuff. I mean, you look at I mean, as far as like indie rock labels go, I mean, Sub Pop is the gold standard.
They are so cool. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Subterranean Pop, and yeah.
So, more non-rock. This is one of my favorite Flaming Lips albums of all time. Here's an original copy from 2005 of At War with the Mystics. I think, I mean, if it comes to favorite Flaming Lips albums, it's either going to be this or the Soft Bulletin. But At War with the Mystics, they just knocked it out of the park with this. And, this is kind of the same zany, kind of very focused, great pop, but zany, kind of lyrically and all the storytelling and everything. Stuff that you would expect from like the Soft Bulletin, Yoshimi battles the pink robots and all that. Like this is sort of a continuation of that. But I think it's also in a lot of ways the ultimate realization of that, right? So they took the best parts of the previous stuff that they had done and they really kind of honed it and refined it and really created a masterpiece with this. So
for me, it would be Yoshimi. Yeah.
Yoshimi battles the pink robots is an amazing album.
I love
that one a lot. So here's some pop, nice electronic pop from the late 2000s. Empire of the Suns, Walking on a Dream. This album is just so much fun, and it's just glorious to listen to.
Yeah. I love it, Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, but I don't love it. I think I will say this about what they did with Dark Side of the Moon, right? If you're going to invest the time and energy into covering someone else's song, never mind someone else's album, take it and make it your own. And the Flaming Lips absolutely did that.
It was really neat. I mean, I equate it to going to an art gallery. You go to the art gallery or a museum and you see this wonderful painting. You sit there, you stare at it, you sketch it, you study it, and then you leave.
That is a great analogy. Yeah.
And then maybe 3 or 4 months later, I want to go back and study that painting again. I want to see it again.
Sure.
But you know, it's one of those things that, hey, I'm going to pull it out today and I'm going to listen to it.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah, I may need to go back and listen to that again, because I remember the first time I listened to it, like, it just washed over me. You know, it was like, okay. I mean, but like I said, they definitely took that album and made it their own. I'll say that they really did.
So much of the elements that Pink Floyd had in there, they have, and what they weren't able to reproduce, they did the best they could, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have to go back and revisit that. So this is
well, thank you.
Oh. So this is a little bit of dream pop from the mid 2000s. This band has been around in various incarnations. I don't know if this was their first album, but it was a very early album. If it wasn't their first, it's either their second or third. But Isley's Room Noises. This is just like dreamy, kind of ethereal kind of pop. It's really great. It's really hard to describe, but if you want to listen to something a little different, check this out sometime. You know, dial it up on the streaming service of your choice and check it out. You know, if you like stuff that's, you know, kind of fun and but you know, a little dreamy and a little atmospheric, I think most people that like that kind of stuff will enjoy this. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
So, you know, we can talk about Bob Dylan and the fact that, you know, from 97 until now, he's put out some of the best and most interesting music of his career. I mean, how many people can say that they put out some of their best work in the back third of their career? You know, but Bob Dylan, you know, you got Time Out of Mind and Love and Theft that were just amazing, you know, 97, 2001. This one that came out in 2006, Modern Times, dude, he just absolutely nailed it on this album. You know, I realize Bob Dylan's not everyone's cup of tea. The man's an American treasure. He's a fantastic songwriter. I am personally of the opinion that some of the best versions of a lot of his songs were done by other people. But this album specifically, I mean, it just blew me away when I heard it. And I have had this in regular rotation for almost 15 years.
Is it acoustic? Is it electric
guitar?
No, it's electric. Okay.
Yep, it's electric. And you know, his voice sounds a little, you know, weathered on the modern, or so Modern Times is where he, you know, where his voice started to really sort of sound the way it does now, right? It's good. I think that might be Isley's first, Kurt, but I'm not sure. I'd have to research it. Either way, it's a very early album of theirs. Something's making me think that they put out an EP or an album on an indie label before that, but I could be wrong. But either way, that record is fantastic. So yeah, if you like dreamy stuff, you need to check that out. It's really good. So I thought this was a total like return to form for Dave Matthews Band, but in 2009 they put out Big Whiskey and the Gru Grux King, and this was Dave Matthews Band coming back. Man, they were focused. The songs were there, the singing was there, the songwriting. I mean, just everything was running on full full steam. This album is awesome.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that one is not very iconic. And when I get it in, it's not a quick seller.
It should be.
It should be, though.
It's very good.
Let's say hello to Elliot. John Anderson, the country singer, does the best version, Don't Think Twice, I've ever heard.
I mean, and I mean, we could go on and on and on about that, right? I mean, Al Cooper and Mike Bloomfield, or I'm sorry, Al Cooper and Stephen Stills on Super Session, I think did the best version ever of It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry. I mean, what can we say about Jimi Hendrix's version of All Along the Watchtower, or the Byrds version of Mr. Tambourine Man? Hell, the Byrds version of You Ain't Going Nowhere on Sweetheart of the Rodeo. The Turtles version of It Ain't Me, Babe. I mean, we could be here all night talking about great versions of Bob Dylan songs done by other people. Oh yeah,
Hey Squirrel, Blonde on Blonde and Blood on the Tracks. All right, yeah.
I love Blood on the Tracks. I love Blonde on Blonde.
I listen.
Honestly, when it comes to Dylan, what about the Turtles?
I listened to a Turtles record Monday in Wake Forest. Never seen the record before, played it, and didn't recognize the song, and it was so good.
Really?
It was
cool.
It was way different than Happy Together. I mean, it was rock and roll. Yeah. Chris said, he sold his entire catalog.
Yeah. Bob Dylan sold his entire. Well, he sold the publishing for all of his entire catalog. But hey, you know what? $300 million ain't a bad payday either. And I mean, Bob Dylan's tired. And he's, I think he's almost 80 if he's not 80 already. So, he's got, I mean, why not, at this point? I can't say I blame him, but
I think I would have sold it 20 years ago and enjoyed that money.
So, just going back to what Squirrel said just briefly about Blonde on Blonde and Blood on the Tracks, when I go for Dylan, a lot of times I go for 80s Dylan, man. I mean, I think Infidels and Oh Mercy are two of the greatest records that he ever put out. And I will tell you that of all of the great lyrics that he came up with in the 60s, my favorite Bob Dylan lyric of all time is in the song Sweetheart Like You on Infidels from 1983, when he said, they say that patriotism is the last refuge to which a scoundrel clings. Steal a little, they throw you in jail. Steal a lot, and they make you king.
They make you what?
They make you king.
King, there you go.
Steal a little, and they throw you in jail. Steal a lot, and they make you king. That is, I mean,
true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
So, Adam, here's one I got from you from the 2000s, an original pressing that I missed out on back in the day. And I could not be happier to have this, and I have played this a ton since I bought it from you probably 2 years ago. But an original 2001 copy of Bjork's Vespertine. This album is just crazy good. It's so, it's full of little sound effects and electronic noise and things, but my God, the emotion and the way that she sings on this album, it just goes down into you, man. This album will move anybody that doesn't have a heart of stone. This album is so, so cool.
Yeah, and I can't keep everything, but yeah, that was very cool. Squirrel always says 61, Highway 61.
Yeah.
Elliot says probably a wise business move, get the money up front, invest wisely, and leave his family.
Exactly.
Virginia,
Although I'm not going to be a big fan when when Universal Music starts selling Dylan's publishing or selling licenses to can you imagine? I don't know, Firestone tires. They're like a Rolling Stone. They're so tough. They're like a Rolling Stone. or whatever, with that song playing in the background, that's going to happen now that Universal Music owns the publishing to Bob Dylan's catalog. But
is that Stadium Arcadium behind you, Shawn?
We'll get there. So
we'll get there.
Another super group, Audio Slave. This was their first album. I mean, when it comes to 2000s rock records, this one's the gold standard. There is not, I mean, this is just hard, loud. Chris Cornell has probably one of the most distinctive voices of his generation. The amazing thing about Chris Cornell is that he was a baritone, but he had such a range. Baritone voices don't always have a large range, but boy, he did. There was nothing he couldn't sing. And in this band, God, it was, who all was in this band? It was Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, and it was Chris Cornell, Tim Comerford, Brad Wilk, and Tom Morello. So, it was guys from Rage Against the Machine, Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. I mean, good God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
These guys were amazing. They put out 3 albums, and all 3 of them are top shelf, but especially this first one. Last one from this particular stack. This one is a little bit weird, and it's an indie release. There was a great band in the 2000s called the Apples in Stereo. Yeah. And this album of theirs called New Magnetic Wonder is so fun. It's sort of a minimalist production, but it's definitely worth a listen if you like 2000s indie rock. Check this out. It's totally worth it. It's New Magnetic Wonder by the Apples in Stereo.
Very cool. And folks give me, I like Dylan as a folkie, and give me those first few albums all over this, but I ain't calling him Judas. Yeah.
So interestingly, speaking of Judas, right? There's on the John Wesley Harding album of Bob Dylan's, there's that song, "The Ballad of Frankie Lee and Judas Priest," and that is indeed where the band Judas Priest got their name from. They named themselves after that song, "The Ballad of Frankie Lee and Judas Priest."
Did not know that.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia there. Okay, so yes, Kurt, this is Stadium Arcadium behind me. So when Stadium Arcadium came out in 2006, all the audiophiles were up in arms because the CD, and even me as a non-audiophile, I will say the CD sounded like absolute garbage. It was just brick-walled and clipped, and it sounded like crap. And this is one place where I'll give Steve Hoffman a little bit of credit, as much as it might pain me to do. He did the vinyl release of this, and he went back to the analog tapes, and he mastered this thing the way that it should have been, with lots of dynamic range. And holy crap, does this sound good. This is the box set from 2006 that's got 2 double LPs, so the entire album is 4 sides. And there is no better way to listen to this album. This is amazing. Both, and Stadium Arcadium is just a great Chili's album. I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers did a phenomenal job on this record. I mean, God, Danny California, Charlie, Stadium Arcadium, Hump Day Bump, 21st Century, Desecration Smile. I mean, God, I could go on and on. This album is one of their crowning achievements. And vinyl is absolutely the way that it should be heard, because the CD just sounds awful. And you don't have to be an audiophile to hear how bad it sounds. I mean, it is bad. But this is amazing. So,
is it true you could take the CD and exchange it in the store just for the album on the vinyl?
No, not that I knew of.
It should have been.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
So another band from the 90s that did a crowning achievement album in the 2000s was the Foo Fighters. And this album came out in a vinyl box set. There were actually 2 pressings done because this actually sold well on vinyl. This is the first version with 4 LPs at 45 RPM. This is the Foo Fighters In Your Honor. This album was really cool because it was 2 CDs and it was a bunch of LPs in a box set. But what it was half the album, 1 CD or 2 of the 4 LPs, was a regular hard rockin' set from the Foo Fighters. And then the second CD, or the last 2 LPs, was completely acoustic, like chill. Dave Grohl said that the hard rockin' side of this was his Jack and Coke record, and then the acoustic side was his Martini record. So Yeah, In Your Honor was a crowning achievement for them. And I couldn't be happier that I bought this back in the day, because this has been on regular rotation for 15 years. It's outstanding. I put this up with the Foo Fighters' very best material. So
very cool.
That's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to come back and here with you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Shawn. Such good things to check out and enjoy and revisit and get really acquainted. I was thinking about I was thinking about the Flaming Lips. I don't remember the name offhand, but
the new one.
I'm sorry.
The new one or the other one that I
was thinking about an older one that was 4-disc.
Oh, Zyreka. That was the one that had 4 CDs that you were supposed to put in 4 different boom boxes at the same time and hit play at the same time. Like it was like rudimentary surround.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I never owned that, but
people would have parties. Art galleries would set up a room and it was just awesome. Yeah. So that was really cool.
I mean, leave it to the Flaming Lips to release something like that, right? I mean, that's totally something they would do.
Hey, I want to say something before we take off, but Saturday, Coffee and Vinyl will be the 200th episode, and so I'm inviting everybody to come and hang out with me, and I want to bring as many people as we can up on the screen just to kind of have a celebration of 200 Coffee and Vinyl shows. And I was thinking if we had 8 people showing records like crazy, it would just be just like a big.
When is it?
Saturday morning, 8:30 until 9:30ish.
I'll join that if you want.
Yeah, just bring a handful of records, and we probably won't be able to talk about them, but if we can just do the visual thing and
I'm down. Send me a link Saturday morning to join the feed. I'll do it.
Well, I'll put it in the chat as soon as I get started. So everybody, hey, come and hang out with us. Elliot, if you happen to be awake by then, you're welcome. If you're free, I know Elliot likes to do some special things in the morning, and I totally understand that. And got to get Elliot out here one night for cocktails and vinyl and cool things like that. Yes, but yeah, cool. I had a blast. It was good to sit down. I've been going since 8:30, 8 o'clock this morning, and so yes. So there we go. But Shawn, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for coming and hanging out with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Any big plans for the ringing in the new year, Shawn?
Nah, just hanging out.
Oh, that would be wonderful, Katie. I hope you can join, and Kurt and Brooke and Francis and everybody like that. So yeah, don't go anywhere, Shawn. But thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Look forward to seeing everybody really soon. And thank you, Shawn, and everybody.
Thanks, guys.